Roger and Harry, Part 9. The Reckoning, Chapter 16. Routine. Roger stopped thinking about the trip. It was easier that way. Easier to focus on the work, the money, the day-to-day survival. Harry did the same. They didn't talk about it anymore. One night at the mill, Dennis came by the guard shack. "You two hear about the new development?" he asked. "What development?" Roger said. "North side of town. Big project. They're putting in a whole complex. Apartments, shops, offices. Going to be a lot of construction." "So?" "So that means a lot of copper wire, a lot of equipment. Might be opportunities there." Dennis walked away. Roger looked at Harry. "He's talking about Vincent," Harry said. "I know." "More jobs coming?" "Yeah." They sat in silence. More jobs meant more money. More money meant more security. More security meant more dependence on Vincent. The cycle continuing. Roger thought about the $8,000 again. How they'd saved it. How they'd spent it. How they'd ended up right back here with nothing to show for it except some stories they didn't tell anyone. "You ever regret it?" Harry asked. "The trip?" Roger thought about it. The cult, the meth lab, the robberies, the long walk home, all the disasters and near misses and moments of pure desperation. "No," he said finally. "I don't regret it." "Me neither. But I'm not doing it again." "No," Harry agreed. "Never again." They sat in the guard shack watching the empty lot. A truck came through. Roger logged it. The night continued. Somewhere out there the highway stretched east. The coast waited. The world existed beyond Capreol, beyond the mill, beyond Vincent's copper jobs. But Roger and Harry were here. And here was where they'd stay. The trap had closed. They'd tried to escape and failed. Now they were back, and the walls felt tighter than before. Roger picked up his coffee, drank it, stared out at the darkness. Tomorrow there would be another shift, another job, another day of the same routine. He'd tried to escape. It hadn't worked. Now he just had to survive. The shift ended at 6 a.m. Roger and Harry walked back through town as the sun came up. The streets were empty. A few early workers heading to the Tim Hortons. Otherwise, nothing. Chapter 17. The Watcher. They were halfway to the boarding house when Roger noticed the car. Black sedan, parked across the street. Engine running. Someone sitting in the driver's seat. "You see that?" Roger said quietly. Harry glanced over. "Yeah." They kept walking. The car didn't move, but Roger could feel eyes on them. Watching. "Probably nothing," Harry said. "Probably." They turned the corner. Roger looked back. The car was still there, still idling. They reached the boarding house, went inside, climbed the stairs to their room. Roger went to the window, looked down at the street. The black sedan was parked at the curb now, right in front of the building. "It followed us," Roger said. Harry came to the window, looked down. Shit. They watched for 5 minutes. The car didn't move. The driver didn't get out. "Maybe it's Vincent," Harry said. "Checking up on us?" "Vincent doesn't drive a sedan." "Then who?" Roger didn't know. But something felt wrong. The way the car had been waiting, the way it had followed them. Deliberate, patient. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Come down." Roger showed Harry the message. "Don't go down there," Harry said. "If we don't, they'll just wait." "Let them wait." Roger's phone buzzed again. Another text. "It's about Michigan. The pawn shop. Come down, or I come up." Roger felt his stomach drop. The pawn shop. The shootout. The backpack they'd stolen back. "Fuck," he said quietly. "What?" Roger showed him the message. Harry's face went pale. "How do they know about that?" Harry said. "I don't know. We need to call Vincent." "And tell him what? That we got into a shootout in Michigan and now someone's here asking about it?" Harry didn't have an answer. Roger looked down at the street. The car was still there. Waiting. His phone buzzed a third time. 2 minutes. Then I come up. "I'm going down," Roger said. "Roger." "Stay here. If something happens, call Vincent." Roger left the room before Harry could argue. Walked down the stairs. His heart was pounding. He thought about the pawn shop, the owner with his shotgun, the bullets hitting the wall, running through the alley with the backpack. He'd thought they'd gotten away clean. No witnesses, no cameras. Just two guys running through an alley in a small Michigan town. Apparently not. Roger pushed open the front door, stepped outside. The morning air was cold. The street was still empty except for the black sedan. The driver's door opened. A man got out. He was in his 50s. Gray hair, neat suit, calm expression. He looked like a businessman, or a cop, or something worse. "Roger Deschamps," the man said. Not a question. "Who are you?" "My name's not important. What's important is that we have a problem." "I don't know what you're talking about." The man smiled slightly. "The pawn shop in Riverside, Michigan. 3 weeks ago. You and your friend stole a backpack. The owner tried to stop you. Shots were fired. You ran." Roger said nothing. His mind was racing. How did this man know? Who was he? "The owner," the man continued, "is my brother-in-law. He called me after it happened. Described two guys, one tall, one shorter, both Canadian accents. Both looked like they'd been on the road for a while." He paused. "He also got your license plate number when you ran, tracked it to a rental car company in Pennsylvania. They had your names." Roger felt sick. They'd been so careful. Or they thought they had been. "What do you want?" Roger asked. "I want to know why you were in that pawn shop, why you stole that backpack, and what was in it." "It was our backpack. Someone stole it from us. We were just getting it back." "With a gun." "We didn't have a gun. Your brother-in-law did." The man studied him. "My brother-in-law says there was something valuable in that backpack, something worth shooting over. He wants it back." "There was nothing valuable, just our stuff, clothes, camping gear." "He doesn't believe that." "Neither do I." Roger's mind was working fast. The backpack. What had been in it? Their clothes, the tent, the sleeping bags, and the money. $4,000 they'd gotten back from the laundromat thief. "There was money," Roger said. $4,000? But it was ours. We'd been robbed earlier that day." $4,000, the man repeated. "That's a lot of money to be carrying around." "We were traveling. We needed it." The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "My brother-in-law thinks you stole more than that. He thinks you took something else from his shop, something he can't report to the police." Roger understood then. The pawn shop owner had been dealing in something illegal, stolen goods, maybe, or drugs, and he thought Roger and Harry had taken it. "We didn't take anything else," Roger said. "Just our backpack." "Then you won't mind if I search your room?" "I do mind. You're not a cop." "No," the man agreed. "I'm not. But I can make things very difficult for you if you don't cooperate. I know where you live. I know where you work. I know you're on parole." He paused. "I also know you've been doing jobs for Vincent Mercier, copper theft. That's a parole violation right there." Roger felt the trap closing again. Different trap, same feeling. "What do you want?" he asked again. "I want you to come back to Michigan with me. Talk to my brother-in-law. Clear this up. And if I don't? Then I make some phone calls. Your parole officer, the police, Vincent Mercier. I tell them all about the pawn shop, about the copper theft, about everything." The man smiled. "Your choice." Roger stood there on the sidewalk. The morning sun was getting brighter. A car drove past. Normal life continuing around him. Chapter 18. The Trap Closes. He thought about the trip, about trying to escape, about walking 2,000 miles just to end up back here, more trapped than before. Now this, a new trap, a new threat. He looked up at the window of his room. Harry was watching from behind the curtain. Roger looked back at the man. "When?" "Now," the man said. "Get your friend. We leave in 10 minutes." He got back in the car, left the engine running. Roger stood there for a moment, then he turned and walked back inside, climbed the stairs, opened the door to the room. Harry was standing by the window. "What did he say?" Roger told him. All of it. The pawn shop owner, the brother-in-law, the accusation, the threat. When he finished, Harry sat down on his bed. "We're fucked." "Yeah." We can't go back to Michigan. If we don't, he calls our parole officer. We go back to prison. If we do go, we might not come back at all." Roger knew he was right. The man downstairs wasn't a cop. He wasn't bound by laws or procedures. If his brother-in-law wanted revenge, wanted them to disappear, there was nothing stopping him. "We could run," Harry said. "Where? We have no money, no car, nowhere to go. We could tell Vincent. And say what? That we got into trouble in Michigan and now someone's threatening us? He'll cut us loose. We're liabilities." They sat in silence. Outside, the black sedan waited. Roger's phone buzzed. A text. "Time's up. Come down, or I start making calls." Roger stood up. "We have to go." "Roger, we don't have a choice." Harry stood up slowly. He looked scared. Roger felt scared too, but there was no other option. The trap had closed, again. They grabbed their jackets, walked down the stairs, stepped outside. The man was standing by the car now. He opened the back door. "Get in." Roger and Harry got in. The man closed the door, got in the driver's seat. The car pulled away from the curb, headed south, toward the highway, toward Michigan. Roger looked back at the boarding house, at Capreol, at the town they'd tried so hard to escape and then come back to. Now they were leaving again. But this time, they weren't walking toward freedom. They were being driven toward something worse. The man glanced at them in the rearview mirror. "It's a 6-hour drive. Get comfortable." Roger looked at Harry. Harry's face was pale. His hands were shaking. They'd tried to escape the trap, failed. Come back, settled into the routine. And now the routine was broken. The consequences had caught up. Roger stared out the window as Capreol disappeared behind them. He thought about Vincent, about the security job, about the copper wire and the careful planning and the slow accumulation of money. All of it was gone now. They were heading back to Michigan, back to the pawn shop, back to face whatever was waiting for them there. The car merged onto the highway, picked up speed. Roger closed his eyes. The trap had never really opened. It had just gotten bigger. Chapter 19, Michigan. They crossed the border at Sault Ste. Marie just after noon. The man showed documents at customs. Roger and Harry sat silent in the back seat. The border guard waved them through without questions. Michigan looked the same as Ontario. Same trees, same gray sky, same empty highway stretching south. They drove for another 3 hours. Through small towns Roger didn't recognize, past shuttered factories and abandoned gas stations. The landscape got flatter, more industrial. Finally, the man turned off the highway onto a county road, then onto a gravel drive that led to a warehouse complex surrounded by chain-link fence. The warehouse was massive. Corrugated metal sides, no windows, loading docks on 3 sides. A few trucks parked in the lot, otherwise empty. The man pulled up to a side entrance, killed the engine. "Out," he said. Roger and Harry got out. The air smelled like diesel and rust. The warehouse loomed above them, silent and gray. The man led them to a metal door, knocked twice. The door opened. A woman stood there, 50s, hard face, work clothes. She looked Roger and Harry up and down like she was inspecting livestock. "These them?" she asked. "Yeah," the man said. "They look soft. They'll toughen up." The woman stepped aside. "Bring them in." They entered a narrow hallway. Concrete floor, bare bulbs overhead, the smell of oil and sweat. They walked past offices with closed doors, past a break room with vending machines, past a bathroom with a broken lock. At the end of the hall was another door. The woman opened it. Beyond was the warehouse floor. Massive space, high ceiling, rows of pallets stacked with boxes, forklifts moving between aisles, men loading trucks at the far end. "This is the operation," the woman said. "We move product. Appliances, electronics, construction materials. Some of it's legit. Most of it's not. You don't ask questions about where it comes from or where it goes." Roger looked at the pallets. Refrigerators, washing machines, boxes marked with brand names he recognized. "What do you want us to do?" he asked. "Load trucks, unload trucks, Move pallets, whatever needs doing. She paused. You work 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. You sleep in the bunkhouse out back. You eat what we give you. You don't leave the property. For how long? Harry asked. Until your debt is paid. What debt? The woman smiled without warmth. The pawn shop in Riverside. My brother says you stole from him. $4,000 plus damages plus interest. Call it $10,000 total. We didn't steal anything, Roger said. That was our money. My brother says different, and since you can't prove otherwise, you work it off. $10,000 at minimum wage minus room and board. She did the math in her head. Figure about 6 months. 6 months. Roger felt his stomach drop. And if we refuse? He asked. Then I call your parole officer, tell them about the pawn shop, about the shooting, about you fleeing across state lines. She shrugged. You go back to prison? Your choice. Roger looked at Harry. Harry's face had gone white. We'll work, Roger said quietly. Smart. The woman turned to the man who'd driven them. Get them set up in the bunkhouse. Start them on the night shift tonight. The man nodded. Led them back through the hallway, out a different door, across a gravel lot to a smaller building behind the warehouse. The bunkhouse was a converted trailer, narrow, dim, smelling of mildew. 8 bunks along the walls, a few men sleeping despite the afternoon light, others sitting on their beds, staring at nothing. Pick a bunk, the man said. Shift starts at 8 p.m. Someone will come to get you. He left. The door closed behind him. Roger and Harry stood in the middle of the bunkhouse. The other men watched them with dead eyes. One of them, younger, maybe 30, spoke up. First time? Yeah, Roger said. How long you in for? 6 months? The man laughed bitterly. That's what they told me. Been here 14 months now. Debt keeps growing. Room and board? Medical if you get hurt? Penalties if you fuck up. He shook his head. You're not leaving in 6 months. Roger felt the trap close tighter. He looked at Harry. Harry sat down on an empty bunk, put his head in his hands. Welcome to Michigan, the young man said. Chapter 20. The Work. The first shift started at 8 p.m. A supervisor came to the bunkhouse, banged on the door, shouted for everyone to get up. Roger and Harry followed the other men across the gravel lot to the warehouse. The night air was cold. The warehouse lights were harsh and fluorescent. Inside, the supervisor, a thick-necked man named Dale, assigned them to a loading crew. 6 men total. Their job was to load a semi-trailer with pallets of washing machines. Each pallet weighs 400 pounds, Dale said. You use the pallet jack to move them. You stack them tight. You don't damage the product. You work until the truck is full. He walked away. Roger grabbed a pallet jack. Harry took another. They started moving pallets from the warehouse floor to the truck. The work was brutal. The pallet jacks were old and hard to maneuver. The pallets were heavy and awkward. The truck bed was high and required lifting each pallet up a ramp. After an hour, Roger's back was screaming. His hands were blistered. Sweat soaked through his shirt despite the cold. Harry looked worse. His face was red. He was breathing hard. You okay? Roger asked during a water break. No, Harry said. They worked until 4 a.m. The truck was finally full. Dale came back, inspected their work, grunted approval. Good, now unload that one. He pointed to another truck that had just backed into the dock. They unloaded for 2 more hours. Refrigerators this time. Heavier than the washing machines. By the time they finished, Roger could barely stand. Dale released them at 6 a.m. They stumbled back to the bunkhouse. Collapsed on their bunks. Roger was asleep before his head hit the pillow. They worked 6 nights a week, 12 hours a shift. Loading trucks, unloading trucks, moving pallets, stacking boxes. The work never stopped. There was always another truck, always another load, always Dale or one of the other supervisors watching, making sure they didn't slow down. The other men in the bunkhouse were the same, trapped, working off debts that never seemed to shrink. Some had been there for years. Roger learned their stories during the brief breaks. A guy named Marcus who'd gotten caught stealing a car and was working off the legal fees. a man named Tommy, who owed money to a loan shark and had been sent here to pay it back. Another named Luis, who'd crossed the wrong people and was here as punishment. None of them talked about leaving. It was understood that leaving wasn't an option. The fence around the property was 10 feet high, topped with barbed wire. Guards patrolled at night. Cameras covered every angle. The nearest town was 15 miles away. And even if you got past all that, where would you go? No money, no ID, no way to get home. And the people who ran this place had connections. They'd find you. Roger thought about Vincent, about calling him. But there were no phones in the bunkhouse, no way to communicate with the outside world. They were cut off, isolated, trapped. After 2 weeks, Roger's body had adjusted to the work. His hands had calloused. His back had stopped screaming. He could load a pallet without thinking about it, but his mind was getting worse. The routine was crushing. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. No variation, no hope, just the endless cycle of loading and unloading and moving and stacking. Harry was deteriorating faster. He'd lost weight. His eyes had gone hollow. He barely spoke anymore. One night, during a break, Roger sat next to him on the loading dock. "We have to get out of here," Roger said quietly. Harry didn't respond. "Harry, there's no way out. There's always a way. You see the fence? The guards? The cameras?" Harry shook his head. "We're stuck. We can't stay here for 6 months. You know the debt isn't going away. They'll keep adding to it. We'll be here forever." Harry looked at him. "So, what do you want to do?" "Run." "Where?" "Anywhere. Back to Canada. Find Vincent. Get help. Vincent doesn't know where we are. Then we call him when we get out." "If we get out." Roger stood up. "I'm not dying in this warehouse." Harry was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "When?" "Soon. We need to watch the patterns. Figure out when the guards change shifts, when the cameras aren't watching, when we have the best chance. And then we run." Chapter 21. The First Attempt. They watched for 3 more days, learned the patterns. The guards changed shifts at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. During the changeover, there was a 15-minute window when the coverage was thin. The new guards were getting briefed. The old guards were leaving. The cameras were still recording, but no one was watching the monitors as closely. The fence was weakest on the north side, away from the main gate. There was a section where the barbed wire had come loose. Not enough to climb over easily, but enough to maybe squeeze through if you were desperate. Beyond the fence was a field. Beyond the field was a tree line. Beyond the trees was a county road. If they could make it to the road, they could hitchhike, get to a town, find a phone, call Vincent. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot they had. They planned for the morning shift change. 6 a.m. Everyone would be tired. The guards would be focused on the handoff. Dale would be in the office doing paperwork. Roger and Harry would slip out during the chaos. Cross the yard, hit the fence, get through, run. Simple. Probably impossible. But they had to try. The morning came. Roger barely slept. At 5:30 a.m., he and Harry got up, put on their jackets, waited. At 5:50, they left the bunkhouse, walked toward the warehouse like they were heading to work early. No one stopped them. They reached the north side of the property. The fence was 50 yards away. The weak section was visible, barbed wire sagging, posts leaning. Roger looked around. No guards in sight. The cameras were pointed at the main gate and the loading docks. This corner was blind. "Now," Roger said. They ran, across the gravel lot, past a stack of empty pallets, toward the fence. Roger hit the fence first, grabbed the chain link, started climbing. The metal cut into his hands. The fence swayed under his weight. Harry was right behind him. Roger reached the top. The barbed wire was loose, but still sharp. He pushed it down with his jacket sleeve, swung his leg over, started down the other side. Harry was halfway up when someone shouted, "Hey, stop!" Roger dropped to the ground, looked back. A guard was running toward them from the warehouse. Young guy, radio in hand. "Go!" Roger shouted. Harry scrambled over the top, caught his jacket on the barbed wire, ripped it free, dropped down next to Roger. They ran, across the field. The grass was tall and wet. Their feet slipped in the mud. Behind them, more shouting. The guard was at the fence now, calling for backup. Roger didn't look back, just ran. His lungs burned, his legs pumped. The tree line was 100 yards away, 50 yards, 20. They crashed into the trees. Branches whipped their faces. Roots caught their feet. But they kept running. Behind them, the sound of engines, trucks starting up, coming after them. Roger and Harry burst out of the trees onto the county road. Empty in both directions. No cars, no help. "Which way?" Harry gasped. "East, toward town." They ran down the road. Their boots slapped the asphalt. The morning sun was just coming up. The sky was gray and cold. A truck appeared behind them, headlights cutting through the dawn. "Off the road!" Roger shouted. They dove into the ditch, scrambled up the other side into another field. The truck skidded to a stop. Doors opened. Men got out. Roger and Harry ran harder, across the field, toward another tree line in the distance. But the men were faster, younger, not exhausted from weeks of 12-hour shifts. Roger heard footsteps behind him, close, getting closer. Then someone tackled him from behind. He went down hard, face in the dirt, hands pinned behind his back. Harry was down too. 3 men holding him. Dale walked up. He wasn't even breathing hard. "Stupid," he said. "Really fucking stupid." Chapter 22. Caught. They dragged Roger and Harry back to the warehouse, threw them in a storage room, locked the door. The room was small, concrete floor, no windows, a single bulb overhead, empty except for some broken pallets in the corner. Roger sat against the wall. His face was bleeding where he'd hit the ground. His ribs ached where someone had kicked him. Harry was worse. His lip was split. His eye was swelling shut. He was breathing in short, painful gasps. "You okay?" Roger asked. "No." They sat in silence, waiting. An hour later, the door opened. The woman from the first day walked in. Dale was behind her. She looked at them with cold eyes. "You tried to run." Roger said nothing. "That was a mistake," she continued. "Now, your debt just got bigger. Damage to the fence, lost work time, the cost of retrieving you." She paused. "Add another $5,000 each." "That's bullshit," Roger said. "That's the price of running." She nodded to Dale. "Put them back to work. Double shifts until further notice, and make sure they understand what happens if they try again." Dale smiled. "Yes, ma'am." She left. Dale stepped forward. "Stand up," he said. Roger stood. Harry struggled to his feet. Dale hit Roger in the stomach, hard. Roger doubled over, gasping. "That's for wasting my time," Dale said. He turned to Harry, hit him the same way. Harry collapsed. "You run again," Dale said, "and it'll be worse, much worse. Understand?" Roger nodded, couldn't speak. "Good. Now get back to work." They worked double shifts for the next week, 24 hours on, 12 hours off, loading trucks, unloading trucks, moving pallets until their bodies screamed. Roger lost track of time. Day and night blurred together. He worked in a haze of exhaustion and pain. Harry was barely functioning. He moved like a zombie, eyes empty, face blank. The other men in the bunkhouse avoided them now. Running was bad luck. It brought attention, made things worse for everyone. Roger understood. They'd fucked up, made their situation worse, added months to their sentence. But he didn't regret trying. At least they'd tried, even if it had failed. After a week, Dale reduced them back to single shifts. But the damage was done. Roger's debt had ballooned. Harry's too. They weren't leaving in 6 months. Maybe not in a year. Maybe never. Roger lay on his bunk one night staring at the ceiling, thinking about Vincent. About Capreol. About the life they'd left behind. It seemed like a dream now. Distant and unreal. This was real. The warehouse, the work, the debt, the trap. He thought about the expedition, about walking 2,000 miles to the coast, about trying to escape. They'd failed then, too, come back, settled into Vincent's routine, and now they were here, in an even deeper trap. Roger closed his eyes, tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. Chapter 23. Deeper. The guards watched them constantly now, during shifts, during breaks, even in the bunkhouse. The cameras had been repositioned to cover the north fence. New barbed wire had been installed, higher, sharper. There would be no second escape attempt, everyone knew it. Roger and Harry worked in silence, spoke only when necessary. The other men kept their distance. Marcus, the guy who'd been there the longest, pulled Roger aside one night. "You need to accept it," he said quietly. "This is your life now. The sooner you accept it, the easier it gets." "I'm not accepting shit." "Then you'll break. I've seen it happen. Guys who fight it, they don't last. They either lose their minds or they do something stupid and get hurt bad." He paused. "Just accept it. Do your time. Maybe you get out eventually." "Maybe?" Marcus shrugged. "Some guys do. Most don't. But fighting it doesn't help." He walked away. Roger stood there in the cold night air, looked at the warehouse, the fence, the guards. Marcus was right. Fighting it hadn't helped. Running had made it worse, but accepting it felt like dying. 3 weeks after the escape attempt, Harry stopped talking entirely. He worked, ate, slept. But he didn't speak, didn't make eye contact, didn't respond when Roger tried to talk to him. Roger watched him deteriorate, watched the light go out of his eyes, watched him become a machine, just going through the motions. One night, Roger grabbed Harry's arm. "Talk to me." Harry pulled away, said nothing. "Harry, come on, don't do this." Nothing. "We're going to get out of here, I promise. We just need to—" "There's no getting out," Harry said quietly, his first words in days. "This is it. This is where we die." "No, we're not dying here. Look around, Roger. Look at these guys. They've been here for years. Some of them will never leave. We're the same. We're stuck. Vincent will find us. Vincent doesn't know where we are. And even if he did, why would he come? We're liabilities. We fucked up. He's better off without us." Roger wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because Harry might be right. Vincent was practical, cold. If Roger and Harry were more trouble than they were worth, he'd cut them loose. And they were definitely more trouble than they were worth. Roger let go of Harry's arm, watched him walk back to his bunk, watched him lie down and turn to face the wall. The trap had closed completely now. No light, no hope, no way out. Roger sat on his own bunk, put his head in his hands. For the first time since prison, he felt truly hopeless. Chapter 24. The Rescue. It happened on a Tuesday night, middle of the shift. Roger and Harry were loading a truck with boxes of power tools. The warehouse doors burst open. 3 men walked in. Not guards, not supervisors, different. One of them was Vincent. Roger froze, stared, couldn't believe what he was seeing. Vincent walked across the warehouse floor like he owned it. Calm, unhurried. The 2 men with him flanked him on either side. Big guys, hard faces. Dale appeared from the office. "Hey, you can't be in here." Vincent ignored him, walked straight to Roger and Harry. "You two," Vincent said. "Come with me." Roger didn't move, couldn't process what was happening. "Now," Vincent said. Dale stepped forward. "I said you can't be in here. This is private property. You need to—" One of Vincent's men moved fast, grabbed Dale by the throat, slammed him against a pallet. Dale's eyes went wide. "We're leaving," Vincent said calmly, "with them. You can try to stop us or you can let us walk out. Your choice." The woman appeared from the back office, saw what was happening, reached for something under her jacket. Vincent's other man pulled a gun, pointed it at her. "Don't." She froze. Vincent looked at Roger and Harry. "I said come with me." Roger grabbed Harry's arm. They followed Vincent toward the door. The warehouse had gone silent. Everyone watching, no one moving. They reached the doors. Vincent's men backed out, guns still drawn. The woman and Dale didn't follow. Outside, a black SUV was idling in the lot. Vincent opened the back door. "Get in." Roger and Harry got in. Vincent got in the front passenger seat. His men got in the driver and back seats. The SUV pulled away, fast, out of the lot, onto the county road, away from the warehouse. Roger looked back. No one was following. He turned to Vincent. "How did you find us?" "I have people," Vincent said. "They keep track of things. When you disappeared, I made some calls. Took a while, but I found you." "Why?" Harry asked. His voice was hoarse. "Why come get us?" Vincent turned in his seat, looked at them. "Because you work for me, and no one takes my people without permission." Roger felt something loosen in his chest. Relief, gratitude, fear. "Thank you," he said. Vincent's expression didn't change. "Don't thank me yet. You owe me now. Big time." "We'll pay you back." "Yes, you will." Vincent turned back around. "We're going back to Capreol. You're going back to work. Security shifts, copper jobs, whatever I need. And you don't fuck up again, understand?" "Yes." "No more running. No more trying to escape. You work for me until I say otherwise." "Okay. And if you ever disappear on me again, I won't come looking. Clear?" "Clear." They drove in silence. Across Michigan, toward the border, toward Ontario, toward Capreol. Roger looked at Harry. Harry was staring out the window. His face was blank, but his hands had stopped shaking. They were out, free, rescued. But the trap hadn't opened. It had just changed shape. They'd been working for Vincent before. Now they belonged to him. Roger understood the difference. Before, they'd had some autonomy, some choice. Now they had none. Vincent had saved them, and they would spend years paying him back. The SUV crossed the border at Sault Ste. Marie. The guards waved them through. Canada looked the same as Michigan. Same trees, same gray sky. But it felt different. It felt like coming home, even if home was just another trap. Vincent's phone rang. He answered, listened, said a few words, hung up. "Your boarding house room is still available," he said. "I kept paying the rent. You start back at the security job tomorrow night." "Okay," Roger said. "And there's a copper job this weekend. Big one. You'll both be there." "Okay." Vincent was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You're lucky I found you. That place you were in, people don't usually leave." "We know," Roger said, "so don't make me regret this." "We won't." They drove the rest of the way in silence. Reached Capreol just after midnight. The town was dark and quiet. The boarding house looked exactly the same. Vincent's driver pulled up to the curb. Vincent turned around one more time. "Get some sleep," he said. "Tomorrow, we get back to work." Roger and Harry got out, stood on the sidewalk, watched the SUV drive away. They were back, in Capreol, in the routine, in Vincent's world. The expedition was over, the escape had failed, and the trap had closed. But they were alive, and for now, that was enough. They walked into the boarding house, climbed the stairs, opened the door to their room. Everything was exactly as they'd left it. The beds, the window, the view of the street. Roger sat on his bed. Harry sat on his. "We're back," Harry said quietly. "Yeah." "For how long?" Roger didn't answer, because he didn't know. Maybe months, maybe years, maybe forever. Vincent owned them now, and Vincent didn't let go easily. Roger lay back on the bed, closed his eyes, thought about the warehouse in Michigan, about the work, about the debt that had kept growing. At least here, the debt was different. At least here, they knew the rules. At least here, they had Vincent. For better or worse.